Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Kingsmith, and I am joining you today for 10 business lessons for successful yoga teachers. And for those of you watching this recording, I just wanted to start out by offering a huge apology for having to cancel this workshop live. I know many of you know that my daughter was really sick the day we were supposed to do it, and she was just very much in need of some mama time. So my huge apologies for not being able to do this in person, and thank you so much for your patience with the recording. I'm still so excited to dive in with you today and talk about these 10 business lessons, as well as answer some of the questions that the Offering Tree team has been collecting from you guys. So let's get into it. Let's not waste any time. So I wanted to start by introducing myself for anyone who maybe is not familiar with me or has never encountered me before or see me on the interwebs or anything like that. So as I said, my name is Amanda Kingsmith, and I am the host of Mastering the Business of Yoga, which is a podcast and business supporting yoga teachers with their yoga businesses. I'm also a 500-hour registered yoga teacher and a yoga business consultant. So I work with yoga teachers and yoga studio owners to support them with their businesses. I'm also a business graduate. I graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce from the University of Calgary, and I have a major in marketing, as well as a bit of a business geek. I really love business tools, techniques, the business of yoga, and work as a business coach, as I mentioned. I also just recently published my first book, so I am officially the author of How to Master the Business of Yoga. I've got a little copy right here that I'll show you guys. It's cool to create something and see it, actually come to fruition and become a real thing. So yeah, this is my book, and I'll give you guys a link if anyone wants to go and check it out. So that'll be provided with the additional resources for this workshop. And a lot of what I've pulled today is, things from the book or things that I learned from people that I had on the podcast, and things that are included in the book. So we're kind of doing, a lot of, if you like this format, I guess we could say, then you would probably like the book. And then the last thing I'll tell you is that I am a world traveler. I used to say digital nomad here, but I've been based in Mexico pretty full-time for the last couple of years, so I'm going to change it to world traveler. But my passion for travel actually came before my love of yoga. And while I'm originally from Alberta, Canada, I currently live in central Mexico with my husband and daughter. So that's a little bit about me and my background. Now let's dive into the good stuff. So I'm just going to move this little bubble down or over. So I want to start by just asking you to consider, have you ever experienced any of the following? Poorly attended yoga classes, canceled workshops or programs because you didn't have enough registrations, paychecks so low that you can't pay your bills at the end of the month and you're considering, do I need to get another job? Anxiety about whether or not you can afford to continue teaching, burnout from running to class all day, all week, and just feeling like you never really get a break. Overwhelm about all the things that you need to do, this constant to-do list that feels like it just never stops, and you feel like you're just running yourself into the ground because it's not really sustainable. Maybe exhaustion from working 7 days a week. So if you have not experienced any of those, then that's amazing. You have figured out the secret sauce of being a successful yoga teacher, and maybe some of the tips here will help you. But honestly, I think this workshop is for those of you who have experienced some of these things. And in all honesty, I've been here. I've experienced some of this stuff. And that's really what spurred me to create my business, to start my podcast back in 2016, was this desire to have a more sustainable business, to understand how to do that as a yoga teacher. All of us came to yoga because we're passionate about it. So we should be able to teach it and offer the service and be able to pay our bills and have days off with our loved ones and all the things. So hopefully some of these tips will help you do that. So before we get into the tips, I want to talk about what is the business of yoga for those of you who are maybe not familiar. So one of the key mindset shifts that I think we need to make is that when you become a yoga teacher, you also become a business owner or a solopreneur or entrepreneur. You're working for yourself. So you're not just getting, a regular paycheck every 2 weeks. It's not just a full-time job. It's a little bit different. You are working for yourself. So it's really important to understand how to teach yoga, of course, but it's also important to understand all the other components that go into getting a teaching job, making a sustainable income, and more. And that's really where I come in. I can help with that piece of the puzzle. So another context point or framework to have that's really important is, why is the business of yoga important? So the reason why I've identified that it's important is it's how you'll get teaching opportunities. It's really that key piece to having a teacher training, having the experience, but then being able to get in front of people in a studio. It's how you'll get private clients if that's something that you want to do. It's how you'll sell out workshops, so no more canceling workshops. It's how you'll make a sustainable living, which I think all of us really crave and want to do. It's how you'll clearly communicate your programs and offerings to your students, which is so important for actually getting people in them. And of course, it's how you'll help and serve others with yoga, which is what we're here to do, right? That's what we all want to do. And of course, it's the key to turning your dreams into a reality. So I would really like to support you with being able to run a successful and sustainable and thriving yoga business. So that's why these tools and tips are really, really important. So what are the actual 10 business lessons that I've learned throughout my career from the people I've talked to that will help you create a thriving and successful business? So number one, the first tip that I'd like to talk about today is expanding your yoga business outside of the yoga studio or outside of group classes, let's say. So teaching in yoga studios is great, but it's not super sustainable to only do this over the long term, which if you've ever done this, I think you know, if you're getting paid between $35 and $50 a class, maybe more if you have a generous studio owner, you start doing the math on like, can I afford to pay my rent? Can I afford to buy my groceries? And in order to do so, how many classes do I have to teach? And you're probably going to get math of somewhere between 20 and 30 classes a week, which working 20 to 30 hours probably doesn't seem that much, especially if you came from corporate. But teaching that many classes, when you think about needing to go early, class plan, all that type of stuff, it's a huge energetic output. Does it mean you can't do it? No, definitely not. You certainly can, but it's going to be a lot. So instead, I would suggest that you, of course, have some group classes. It's a great way to meet students, but you can also expand your yoga business outside of studio classes. So ways in which you can do this are workshops, registered classes and programs, privates, corporate yoga, retreats, and online offerings. So I will just very briefly go through what each of these are, and if you have more questions about them, you can certainly let me know. So workshops we've probably all attended are usually between 1 and 3 hours. We usually pay, maybe $40 or $50 for them, maybe a little less, a little more, depending on what it is. It's a little more specific. You have more time with your students and you're teaching on something more specific. Registered classes or programs are a great option for yoga teachers. This is where you set up, like, we're running a semester of yoga classes, or we're doing this really specific program that we're going to register for, like prenatal yoga for 6 weeks or intro to back bending for 4 weeks or something like that. So people register for the entire series rather than just buy one-off classes. Privates are where you're teaching your students one-on-one or one to a couple, one to a small group, something like that. You can charge a lot more for these. You can go to people's houses or do it in a studio or even do it online. Corporate yoga is where you're going into corporations and working with businesses directly to offer yoga classes, which is a really awesome way to expand your offerings and work with a different demographic. Retreats can be from half day to full day to weekend to something that's, in the mountains outside of where you live to heading to Costa Rica for a week. So many of you have probably experienced retreats or seen yoga teachers offer retreats. And while these are certainly not for the faint at heart, they're definitely a really awesome option for us as yoga teachers to expand our business. And then, of course, online offerings. Having a business where you can offer online offerings is a beautiful way to expand your business outside of the yoga studio and just create something that's a bit more dynamic. So number 2, find your niche. You guys probably hear this a lot if you're kind of learning a lot, going to master classes and workshops like this a lot. You probably hear this quite a bit. Finding your niche is really important because it's really about discovering what you do uniquely as a yoga teacher, and it's so important for us to discover what we do. It's important to figure out a specialty that you can offer your students that isn't just like all levels vinyasa flow. Nothing wrong with all levels vinyasa flow. I've taught a lot of all levels vinyasa flow classes and stuff like that, and they are a great place to start. They're a great place to continue building your network, but they're not a great place to create a sustainable yoga business over time. You also want to determine who your ideal student is that's interested in your niche and teach to them. So just very briefly, your ideal student is going to be your target market, your avatar, that person that comes to class who loves what you have to offer, loves what you have to say, and you feel the same way about them. And your niche is really at the intersection of what you do uniquely well and what you're passionate about. And we find and attract the people that are also interested in that, which is a really beautiful thing. So when you're just starting out, if you're kind of new to this, or maybe you're not too sure what this is, I definitely encourage you to just start thinking about like, what do you do uniquely? What are you really interested in? And start thinking about what your possible niche could be. Because once we start to narrow in on who we really want to teach and what we want to teach, we have a lot of doors open for us in terms of opportunity. So a couple of examples of niches just to get you thinking if you're not really sure what this could look like. You could do movement or anatomy-based yoga. You could do essential oils, could be part of your niche, prenatal, mom and baby, things like aerial or sup yoga, kids yoga, seniors yoga, yoga for men, yoga for beginners, and the list goes on. So you can kind of see how it's like teaching a specific demographic, a specific type of yoga, and that can be your specialty. Again, I just want to reiterate, this doesn't mean that you can't teach the all levels vinyasa flow classes. You can still keep those classes because we know and love those, but you also have something that you specialize in. So when your friend is looking for somebody to teach their aging parent, they know that you're the go-to person for seniors yoga. So that's kind of how that works when it comes to niching. Okay, number 3, take your business online. So I think a lot of us know since the changeover, or I guess not changeover, after the shift of the pandemic and stuff like that, we've really had this opportunity to take our yoga businesses online. So you have this opportunity to offer a variety of offerings that can be both online as well as in person for your students. And this can really help you connect with students that aren't just in your geographic area. And one of the benefits that I think of with online yoga and online teaching is that you can really reach more people across the world, which is beautiful. What's better than being able to serve the people we want to serve that aren't just in our local communities, but also people across the globe. And we also have an opportunity to make money from our home or really anywhere in the world. So you could be traveling and still making income if you wanted to. You don't have to leave, which is a huge opportunity if you are a stay-at-home mom or somebody who maybe works from home and doesn't have a lot of opportunity to teach on the side. And I also think it's great because you can teach without having to go to a physical brick and mortar. And as a yoga teacher now, you have a real opportunity to build your own business. And now as a yoga teacher, you have a real opportunity to build your own business, be your own boss, and make more revenue than you did working at multiple yoga studios, running around a city like a crazy person. Now you can really hone in on things and get specific with your offerings and make money from the comfort of your home or anywhere in the world that you want to, which I think is really great. So if you're not all for online yoga, that's okay. But I would love for you to consider the idea of maybe even diversifying your offerings a little bit because there's huge opportunity here. All right, so a couple of ways that you could take your business online if you wanted to kind of experiment with this is you could offer live stream classes, create videos or a video library, create an online course, offer online privates, or create a membership. And I'll go through just briefly about what each of these are. And I just want to add that one of the great things about something like this is that with the software that Offering Tree offers, you could do all of this right from their software. So I know it seems really complicated to take your business online, but it doesn't necessarily have to be anymore, which is really, really, really awesome. So the idea of offering live stream classes is, and I just noticed I've got a typo on my slide, so my apologies for that, live steam. We're going to live stream, not live steam. Is that you can offer your classes on something like Zoom, just like the original plan was for this webinar, is you guys would hop on, I would be there teaching about the business of yoga. We would just be doing yoga teaching. So you can do that in the same way that you would do anything else online or on Zoom. You can also create videos. So you could record your classes, put them into like a video on demand library. So think like Netflix style. Or you could create videos. So you could record videos, put them into a video library and start selling them to your students. You can also create an online course. This can be something that's either live or evergreen that people go at their own pace about any topic you're interested in. And this is where having a niche, having an ideal student comes in handy because you probably have more ideas about it then, about what you would offer. But create a course that you can sell, that can be evergreen, that your students can go through throughout the year or at their own pace or whenever you offer it. This can be a great way to diversify your income and build your business. Just like we offer privates in person, we can also offer them online. So lots of people want to practice from the comfort of their own home and do one-on-one yoga in that way. And we can create a membership. So this is like the studio model of basically you pay one fee per month and you get access to basically everything that they offer. So you can do the same thing for your students. And this is a great way to build recurring revenue in your business. Okay, number 4, have an email newsletter. I'm a big fan of email newsletters. So with the ever-changing algorithm and rules on social media, what a headache, don't we all know this? It's important to have your students in a place where you know that they'll see your content. And well, of course, emails go to spam and emails get deleted and stuff like that. I do feel like there is a big opportunity with an email list to actually have people read your emails, open them, click on things and purchase. You own your own email list, which is huge. It means that your content doesn't just get taken down or deleted or whatever. And people are far more likely to open and buy from email newsletters than they are to buy from social media. I feel like this has been tried and tested a million times. And I feel like even in my own business, anytime I send something via email, we get a lot more engagement than we do via social media, like infinitely more. And I have more followers on social media than I have email subscribers. So you can start for free on platforms like MailChimp, ConvertKit, Flowdesk, etc. There's lots of different options. Just feel free to check them out and see what feels like the best vibe for you. But just know that you can start for free, which is really great. Okay, number 5, cruising right along here. Be authentic on social media. This is huge. If you're going to be on social media, it's really important to be authentic and show up as you truly are. I think there's a lot of pressure on social media to show up as somebody that people want to see, but I think the truth is that people want to know who you are. Like them knowing who you truly are is why they're going to purchase something from you or take a class from you, etc., etc. Big fan of real talk, just being real on social media. No need to fake things. Don't lie. Don't pretend to be something or someone that you're not. Share personal life tidbits to whatever degree that you are comfortable with. So share things like if you're getting married or going on a big trip or having a baby or something like that. People love to celebrate those exciting life moments with you, or even things like writing a book. It was really scary for me to share that with my audience, but I got so much positive support from that. And I would definitely, encourage you guys to do the same thing. Remember quality over quantity. I think sometimes we get so caught up in oh, I only have 100 followers and only 30 people liked my post, or only 10 people commented. And it's having quality engaged people, even if there's only 10 of them, is going to be way better than 10,000 people who are bots or AI followers or people who don't really care. So definitely remember quality over quantity. That's huge. And then I'm a big fan of making social media social again. This platform was created for us to get to know people, network, interact with one another. And I've met so many amazing people on social media. And so I would really encourage you guys to reach out to people that seem interesting and communicate with people that seem interesting and follow people that seem like-minded and just try to get to know people and really make this platform social as it was designed. Okay, so number 6 is to market online and in person. So while I'm a big fan of things like email newsletters and social media, as we just talked about, I'm also a fan of in-person marketing. So like old school in-person marketing, believe it or not. So big fan of not putting all your eggs in one basket. And I actually did the last time I did a webinar with Offering Tree, we talked a lot about this, about diversifying your offerings and not putting your eggs all in one basket. And so I think online offerings and marketing online are really important. Like that's one of my top tips. I'm a big fan of being online, but also let's not forget about in-person marketing too. It is so important to make sure that you are also doing in-person marketing and reaching out to your local community. So what is this? This is poster creation and printed marketing materials in areas where your ideal student is hanging out. So let's use an example. Let's say that you are running prenatal yoga classes. We are looking for pregnant mamas. So where could we put posters up? So one, putting them in the studio where you're offering them, because people don't always look at the website of the studios that they practice at. So maybe they don't know the other offerings. But also thinking about where a pregnant mama might be going. So maybe the local coffee shop, maybe you can see if the chiropractor office that's in town has, or in your area has, a board that you could put a poster up at, maybe the local health food store or grocery store, maybe a community center, maybe they have another kid, like a library, community center area like that they might be going to. Thinking about like where these people hang out and then going and putting your marketing materials there is key. Engaging with your students before and after class. Like this is just being like basic networking, is talking to your students before class, getting to know their names, asking them a bit about themselves. What do they do for work? What do they like to do outside of yoga? How long have they been practicing for? Just spending a bit of time, even 5-10 minutes with your people before and after class can make a huge difference to getting to know your people. And I'm also a fan of attending networking events, classes, and meeting people in your local community. Obviously, we don't have infinite time and energy, so just deciphering and discerning what's going to be best for you in terms of how you do this, and then making the best decisions for you based on this is going to be really important. Okay, this was a key thing that has stood out in like every single podcast episode I've ever done with a branding expert. Your brand is more than your logo. I think this is a huge thing for us to remember, because sometimes we get really caught up in the idea that we have to have the perfect logo and the perfect colors and the perfect, font and that type of thing. But our brand is so much more than our logo. So when we think of branding, we often think of logos and colors, like I said, and our brand is far more than just that. Your brand is everything from your photos, your copy, the words that you use to describe yourself and your offerings, your font size and style, your website, the clothes that you wear, as well as, of course, your logo and your colors. So your brand really showcases to the world who you are and what you have to offer. And so it's really important this is why it's important to show up authentically as yourself. So everything that you do, everything that you put out there, you want to be really considerate and specific and discerning with, the photos you use. So don't just use a photo because you think it's pretty. Like, does this actually represent the class you teach, who you are? Is it you? What is this person wearing? What do they look like? What words are you using to describe this? Who are you talking to? All of this is so important, because this is how you are showing up in the world, and how you're showcasing what you have to offer. And your brand will hopefully represent your niche and attract your ideal student. So we really want to have our brand kind of at this intersection of like you showing up really authentically as you are, and then this being something that's attractive to your niche and your ideal student. And if you've chosen a niche and an ideal student that's really representative of who you are as a yoga teacher, then this is going to align perfectly. And if you're feeling a misalignment, then I would definitely suggest just revisiting this and just asking the question of like, is this the right fit? Okay. Number 8, charge for your offerings. This is a big one for me. I feel like this is a really key business lesson. I mean, I learned this when I was a baby yoga teacher first starting out, and this is something that I always teach when I'm working with yoga teachers. I feel like this is super, super important to consider. So there should always be some sort of an exchange, monetary or not. So when we're starting out, sometimes the exchange is like, I'm getting this experience, which I can put on my resume, and that feels like a really good exchange. Just getting the experience, getting to be in front of the students feels like an equal exchange, and I don't need anything more. But at some point you're going to find that you don't feel excited to class plan, you don't feel excited to show up for these things because the exchange doesn't feel equal to you anymore. And that's a sign that you need something more from that, whether that's receiving a service in exchange or often receiving money. So I really like to think of exchanges as like in 2023 and 2024, our exchange for things, for services, for products is generally money. We have this, this currency that we have deemed worth something, and that's what we use. And, at the end of the day, it's important to consider this, because while we could do private yoga lessons for all of our services, like maybe we can convince our hairdresser and our manicurist, and maybe there's a clothing shop that will do an exchange with you. It's like our landlord probably is not going to accept yoga classes in exchange for rent, or the bank that holds your mortgage is probably not going to accept an exchange. So at the end of the day, we do have to have some monetary flow. So just remembering that. But I think the most important thing is just making sure that the exchange feels fair for you at whatever stage you're at. I think it's really important to be confident in your offerings and charge for your services. I think that some free is fine, but everything you offer shouldn't be free. And I do feel like there's a big responsibility for us as yoga teachers to kind of set the standard for what yoga is worth. If people are constantly getting yoga for free, that's what they value yoga at. So they're not going to pay for it because they're like, oh, yoga is free. Why would I pay for this? I also would really recommend considering your freebie offerings that you can provide for your community occasionally, rather than your everyday offerings. So this means that maybe you do like community events where you do by donation, or people can just come because you do like maybe a winter solstice 108 ohms and you just want to offer it to your community. Or once a quarter, you just do an outdoor yoga class where it's free for anyone in your community to come. Those can be really beautiful offerings, but those aren't your everyday offerings. Now, if you want to be more inclusive for people and support people who maybe accessing yoga is hard for them, you can do things like by donation. You can do things like sliding scale. Sliding scale is a really beautiful way to allow people to pay what they can based on their economic situation. So there are lots of ways to do this. And something else that's cool is that you can do all of this in Offering Tree software as well. So just another win for Offering Tree when it comes to setting up your business. It's so cool that they have that ability to do that, because not a lot of softwares do. Okay, overcome your money story. You guys familiar with money stories? I'm curious if this is something that people have talked about. So we're getting into the finances portion of our webinar here. So you can kind of see we've had a couple of different themes as we've moved along through these tips and business lessons. But really working on money stories is important. So your money story is what you were told about money when you were growing up and what society has told you about money that has led to your current beliefs around money. So it's really important to think about, what was I told by whoever raised me? What was I told about money as a little human? And what has society told me about money? And what do I currently believe about money? So you want to ask yourself questions like, are you comfortable charging money? Are you comfortable receiving money? How does money make you feel? And is your money story true? So is what you were told truly true? Is it true information? And for me, when I did this work for the very first time, and this is ongoing work throughout your journey as a human, as a business owner, I recognized that the money story I was told wasn't true. It was something I was believing. It was something that was influencing the way I showed up in my business, in my work, in my life, but it wasn't truly true. And so I had to create a new money story. I had to create a healthier money story, something that felt more true to me. And it's really important to identify and overcome your money story so that you can create and have a positive story about money that really allows you to thrive as a business owner. This is really going to be the key to getting comfortable with having conversations around money, getting comfortable receiving and charging money, getting comfortable charging some people money and maybe giving other people different opportunities, all of the things around money, telling people how much you charge, how much something costs, it's going to come with practice, time and practice. And part of that is just understanding what your current beliefs around money are. So there's lots of work that can be done with this. Okay, my last tip for you is a very practical one. So we're ending on a very practical note here. So it's to separate your personal and business banking. I wish somebody would have told me this when I first started out, because honestly, this was not taught in my teacher training. And my first business coach, I guess, didn't suggest this, which I don't know why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. So what I would suggest is that you open a separate bank account for your yoga business income and expenses, even if you aren't making very much money. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a business account that has high fees or anything like that. See what your bank has to offer and just get another checkings account, get another savings account, just something that can be different. If you're going to use a credit card, have one credit card dedicated to your business expenses. This way, income can come into one bank account. You can pay expenses with it. Makes it so easy for your taxes and accounting and bookkeeping at the end of the year. And I'd really suggest keeping track of everything monthly. Don't leave it to the end of the year, because that's going to be a headache. But it also means that you just don't have a concept of the money that you're making, the money that's coming in and out. So it's really important to have these separate personal and business banking accounts so that we have a sense for how much we're making, so that we can make sure we're paying ourselves, that we're living within our means, that we're saving, all that type of stuff. So with this, I would suggest adding a time each month into your calendar to organize your income and expenses, and then to use a spreadsheet or a software to keep track of everything so that it's easy to read and understand. So just being a little bit proactive with this and keeping everything organized and staying on top of it. I know this is not why we became yoga teachers. And, certainly this is something you could hire out if you want to hire a bookkeeper, an accountant. People can help you with this. But I think when we're starting out, that's not where we want to put our money. And so it's just really important. Give yourself, even an hour a month, and you'll just have a better concept of where you're at financially, and it'll make things so much easier when it comes around to tax season. I promise you, it's worth it. From somebody who has been a hot mess with all of this and has also been organized, I would definitely recommend to be on the organized side. Okay, so maybe we'll just do a quick debrief of those 10 business lessons that I talked about. So we'll just go back through the slides quickly so that I can just remind you what they were. So we'll go back to the beginning, and then we will do some Q&A. And I've got a couple of questions here that I'm excited to answer. So, number 1, expand your yoga business outside the studio. Number 2, find your niche. Number 3, take your business online. Number 4, have an email newsletter. Number 5, be authentic on social media. Number 6, market online and in person. Please, please, please don't forget your local people. Number 7, your brand is more than your logo. Number 8, charge for your offerings. Number 9, overcome your money story. And number 10, what we just talked about, separate your personal and business banking. So we've covered a variety of topics here, lots of different stuff. And I'm going to just open it up to anyone to contact Offering Tree or reach out in the Facebook group if you have any additional questions, or you can feel free to contact me directly. My email is info@mbomyoga.com. So if you have any questions that are related to this that you would have loved to ask had we been doing this live, then feel free to just reach out to me or to the Offering Tree team, and I'm happy to take those questions as well. Because obviously the questions that came in via email and from the Facebook group, people didn't really know exactly what we were going to cover in this session. So my first question is from Julie P. Julie, thank you so much for your question. It says, my online business is small via my Offering Tree website. I'm a spiritual wellness guide that offers a membership, on-demand yoga, and individual appointments for spiritual direction, harp therapy, or yoga. My target audience is women aged 40 to 70 who are at the point in life where they want to go deeper in their spiritual journey, but address it holistically. The question is how to connect with my target women without it costing much money since I'm small. I'm willing to build slowly, but I need to build up my client list. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary and want to improve year 2 and would love to have 50 to 100 in the membership in 2024. First of all, congrats on your first year of business, Julie. That's super exciting. And I love that you have big goals for your second year of business. So I feel like we talked about a couple things that could be helpful for you. But first of all, what I would say is it sounds like you're very clear on who your target market is and what your niche is. So great job with that. That's really awesome. The next thing I would say is there something that your people would really love to sign up to your email list and receive? Could you create a little freebie for them for signing up for your email list? Something you could put on your website, something that you could share in your classes, that type of thing. So that would be my first thought for you. So thinking about if there's a PDF or a 5 to 10 minute video or something you could create that would be really, really useful, impactful for them, for these women who are on this journey that you want to reach out to, that you could create. So once you do that, create it, set it up as an automatic. It's going to be called a lead magnet or a freebie, but lead magnet's kind of the more official like business term for it. So set it up so that when people sign up for your email list, they get this automatic email that sends them this freebie. You can do this all through your Offering Tree website automatically. And that's how you'll start building your list. And then the other thing I would start thinking about is, where are your people? Where are your women? Where are they hanging out, both online as well as in your local community? I don't know exactly where you're based, but I would start thinking about where these people are and how you can support them in this way. So starting to think about that, and then thinking about what you can help them with, and starting to create messaging materials for that would be really helpful. So are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they in Facebook groups? Are they, at your local coffee shop? What do you have that you can support them with? What, starting to market yourself via those routes would be helpful. And all of that you can do for very low cost. You don't have to be doing Facebook ads. You don't have to be doing, a ton of expensive stuff. Like I said, you can start email newsletter for free. And in fact, because you have Offering Tree, you can do all of that in-house. It'll be super effective and affordable for you. So let me know if you have any follow-up questions, Julie, and I hope that this is a helpful answer to your question. Okay, so the next question that I received is from Anya. Anya says, I'm struggling to reach the local community I live in. I started a community class in a community center to engage and encourage local people during the day to take time out of working from home / retired to connect / mom and dad's before school pickup, etc., but not much traction. People are so busy and not looking at local. The Lions runs the center and said it took 18 months to get people to make profit in their coffee shop. I'm determined to bring back the community hub feeling. This is a new center built in the last few years. I also have a small home studio looking to take online too. A daytime void and subcontracting ATM to pay bills, but not the best way forward. Difficult to know what's best to offer as my yin classes are in the evening, so pre-recorded online seems an option. I also want to run women's connection workshops, yoga with creativity to help women stay connected with themselves in midlife journey, online and in person. Any advice here? A broad spectrum, but you may have a golden treasure I haven't considered regarding Offering Tree or network connection. Thank you. Amazing. So there's a lot of stuff here. So I think the first thing is getting really clear on what it is you want to offer and who you want to offer it to, because right now there's a lot of different things kind of flying around. And I think that when we're kind of putting a lot of stuff out there, it can be really confusing both for us to know what we're offering, but also for our students to understand like what things are for. So it doesn't mean you can't do all these things. I think we just need to get really clear on what each offering is and who it's for, and kind of break it down into smaller pieces. So when it comes to the local community, I think understanding like who the community class is for, you've mentioned a couple of different people, but maybe that time isn't working, or maybe they don't know about it. So there's like two different things here. So it might just be that people don't know exists, or it might be like you thought this time worked for them, but it actually doesn't. So kind of figuring out what's what here. And I think the best way to do that is to talk to the people that would be coming to the class. So if you have anyone in your life who's working from home, who's retired, moms and dads who are maybe working from home who might want yoga, connect with them, talk with them. See if you can have 5 minutes of their time. Say, hey, I'm running this community class. I'm curious. Are you interested? What time would you be interested in? What would I need to do to get you to come? Having these conversations is great. So the other thing you can do is, like I said, putting local posters up in your community. So of course, in this community hub, putting posters up for your classes, but also thinking about where these people are outside of this hub. Where are they in your local community, and starting to attract them and reach them there. So hopefully that's helpful. The next thing, you could also look into like local Facebook groups. If your community has any Facebook groups, maybe starting to share there. That might be really helpful, because I think your target market might be in some of those groups, and maybe you could get some like feedback and some insight into things there, and also just share the knowledge about the class. So the other thing you said is that you have a home studio, but you're looking to take things online. So you don't have a lot of time during the day. So yeah, I think that offering classes when you can be really great online, but you could also explore, if you don't have a ton of time, the idea of pre-recorded classes like you're saying. So maybe you create something like a video on demand library. So maybe you create like a membership where people get access to all your recorded videos, and you upload like one new class a week or something like that, and you can charge your people for that. The other thing is with the women's connection workshop, I think that's great. I would love to know, are you already working with these type of women? Do you already have them within your sphere? Because if not, the first step is actually not creating the workshop. The first step is going to be getting to know these women in your community. We don't want to start creating the actual thing until you've connected with the people and you know that this is something that they want. So I don't know if you have these people who are in their midlife journey, these women that you want to connect with in your sphere of influence yet, but I would start thinking about how you could find them. So this is things where it's great to create a freebie on your website where they could join your email newsletter, posting some stuff on social media, creating some gathering some interest in Facebook groups, creating some flyers and some posters for what you're hoping to create and putting them in your community, going to networking events, meeting these women, talking to them. I know it seems like a lot of work, but it pays off in the long term. And we have to do this like foundational building in order to have this long-term success. So I hope that that is helpful for you. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, Denise says, my struggle is to get an online following. Okay, this isn't super specific, but I'll do my best to give you some tips on an online following. So I think the key would be, first of all, remembering quality over quantity. So we're not looking for big numbers. We're looking for people who are going to be truly engaged with like what we're saying, what we have to offer. So the next thing is going to be choosing just a couple of platforms. So I'd say 1 to 3 platforms where your people are. So who are your people? Who do you want to be talking to? What are you trying to sell them? What services are you offering them? Getting clear on what that is so that you know what you're actually going to say on social media, but then also just knowing where you're going to be, because if you're teaching to seniors, you should not be on a platform like TikTok. Like that's just a waste of your time because they are not there, right? If you're teaching to like Gen Z, then sure, get on TikTok. So really identifying like who you're trying to attract, what you can help them with. So the what you can help them with piece is going to help you with your actual content creation. So from there, you can actually start creating content that is relevant to the people that you want to be talking to. And then posting consistently. I would say posting at least a couple of times a week on your platforms with engaging content that gives people like a call to action. Get them to do something, get them to comment, get them to sign up for something, get them to engage, ask them a question. That's going to be the best thing to actually building your following on social media. And then I would say email newsletter. Get them on your email newsletter. Building just the social media is not going to be the way to like ultimately sell your courses, your memberships, your packages. Definitely get them on your email newsletter. So again, for you, a freebie is going to be great. A lead magnet is going to be great. So thinking about what your people want, creating that for them, getting it up on your website, and then directing people to that so that you can start communicating to them via email as well as social media. So that's what I would say. But Denise, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out. Okay. Karen T. Karen T's question is, my questions are more geared towards starting a marketing strategy to get the word out when I have an offering. I'm not too savvy with social media, but I'm trying to navigate Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I have a YouTube site as well. From other best practice sessions, I hear that it's important to build a client base by gathering the emails. Yes, one of the keys that we talked about. So yes, and a way to do that is through creating newsletters. So I'm just starting this. Any tips and tricks with newsletters, ideas for content, etc.? Yes, absolutely. So again, freebie. Freebie is going to be important. So whoever you are trying to attract to your newsletter, think of a freebie that's going to be valuable for them, something that they're going to want. So that's going to be key. You want to have that exchange for them signing up. So once you have people on your newsletter, what does it look like? How often do you have to email them? What are you actually saying to them? Great question. So you can email them as frequently as you want. My one tip would be choose a rhythm and a frequency that works for you consistently. So I have rotated through monthly emails. So that was something I did for a while, like a bigger, longer monthly email. And now I do weekly emails. So whatever feels good for you, you could do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever is going to feel great. Just something where you can kind of like tell people consistently what they can expect. So in terms of content, you can share things like playlists that you're playing in your classes. You could share, you said you have YouTube, you could share some of your YouTube videos. If there's any like poses you're working on that you've got tips for or that you're practicing, you can share that. If you're into like moon cycles or astrology or anything like that, you can share that. Anything that you're working with in your own personal practices, breath work, theming, anything. You can share anything that's kind of interesting to you. But I think the key here is like, I can't give you exact ideas because I don't know who you're talking to. So thinking about who you're talking to and like, what is interesting to these people? That can be really great. So thinking about what they'd be interested in. But a lot of times your target market, your ideal student is going to be interested in the same things you're interested in. So thinking about what you're teaching in class, you know, the phrases you're using, the quotes you're sharing, the playlist you're sharing, that can be really interesting. Podcasts that you're finding interesting, news articles that you enjoyed reading, all that stuff can be really, really great to share. Your people are going to be interested in that because they are interested in the things that you're interested in, most likely. And then the other thing you can do is any offerings you have. Don't be afraid to sell to your people. It's important to use our newsletter to also sell our classes. Tell them about your offerings. If they don't know about them, they can't attend them. So I would also say that. So Karen, I hope that that is helpful for you. All right, my friends, that is the end of the questions that I received. If there's any other questions, like I said, please feel free to pass on to the offering team or email me directly. It's info@mbmyoga.com. There's going to be links for my podcast, my website, my book, all other things included with this webinar. So feel free to check those out. I wanted to give once again a huge thank you to all the people who reached out and gave well wishes to my sweet baby girl, who is feeling 100% better and at her best now, thankfully. So thank you so much for your time, compassion, understanding, and I really hope that this has been helpful for you all. All right, as the slide says, thanks so much for joining me. This has been a real treat, and I hope that I get to see you guys soon. Okay, bye for now.